I made this is just a very short extracts that I chose, and even as I was speaking, I felt I was abusing my time. And there's certainly other I mean, Bell Hooks talks about the reciprocity and the fact that we have to give ourselves to the students and they will open up to that. It's just for there has to be certain elements. If you ask students to do certain things, be prepared to do it yourselves. And I think I see it very much the way I approach my kids. If I ask them to do something, it has to be something that I would be prepared to do. I never ask or demand or punish anything that I wouldn't be able to do myself. And she also talks about, there was a point there about doing it, that there's she says no one, where does she say that? No one educator can do, it's basically you do it together with the students in the classroom. There is no one single educator that can force excitement. Where does she say? It is rare, this is the quote, page 8, it is rare that any professor, no matter how eloquent a lecturer, can generate through his or her actions enough excitement to create an exciting classroom. Excitement is generated through collective effort, right? So we need the students to be there with us. We can't, it's not a performance. It's not a theater that we do and perform in front of them. We, if we are authentic, they respond. They always responded to me being authentic. And if I talk about my struggles, it resonates with them. If I talk about the challenges that I face, it resonates with them, whether that's academic writing or learning a language. And we are ideally positioned to talk about both, really.
Indeed. Yvonne.
Hello. Oh, I think I'm mute.
No, you're okay.
Oh, am I okay?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I think I would, totally agree with everything Ivana has said, although I'm sorry I missed a bit of it because I couldn't get into Zoom. And I was just recalling the words of A.C. Grayling, the philosopher, who said, "You cannot teach anybody anything. You can only inspire them to learn." And that idea of injecting fun and excitement, getting the students to think of it as a journey rather than just the goal of the scores at the end, it's a real challenge, particularly I find with the Chinese students. But I was wondering whether what we're saying here means that we have to overhaul, we have to revisit a lot of the EAP materials that are currently on tap I'm mainly teaching on short pre-sessional courses, recently 5-week courses, where the intensity of what the students have to do, the courses are packed, and we're throwing materials at them that need a lot of classroom attention. So although I'm totally on board with it and try to inject that degree of excitement and fun, for teachers coming into different universities, casual teachers coming in, does that mean that somebody within the language unit in different institutions needs to revisit materials and do a little bit of the sort of heavy lifting, as it were, with the materials? Because most of the materials I'm dealing with at the moment are dry. And with the pressure of the work, you don't have time to rejig every piece of material that you're going to use with students on a short, intensive course.
Okay. Olwen?
You're talking about a problem that's absolutely perennial and that I've heard ever since I started doing EAP teacher development courses in 2001. And it was something that we didn't really have an answer for, but there's this expression, it's the teacher has to lift the materials off the page, and that's it. A corollary of that is the teacher has to find the materials interesting in some way or other. You've mentioned that the materials are dry. You're never going to be able to have fun in a classroom if you think the materials are dry. They're not actually dry to your students. Well, they shouldn't be, because your students might be reading stuff that they are really interested in. And it's actually finding their interest and channeling that somehow. And I don't pretend it's an easy thing to do, but it's you can't rejig materials to make them fun, because your view of fun is not their view of fun necessarily. And that's what I would sort of say in response to that. But I don't really have an answer for you.
I know one thing that we've done is to try and encourage like group planning and sharing, and a certain amount of less is more, because I know there's lots in the materials and you do need confidence to go, yeah, I'm not doing that part today. I'm focusing on this. But I have seen teachers thinking do little things with their lessons and materials that just make it really interesting and fun and get the students involved and engaged. But it is, I think one thing is sharing the practice, I think, and then, yeah. Shall we, has anyone in the committee got a gift they want to give? Faith, did you have?
This is a pretty shambolic gift after such amazing gifts from everybody else. But yeah, well, I was going to share 2 slides that I use for kind of discovery learning for critical thinking. If that interests people, if you'd be interested. And then, because I'll be completely honest, I was a bit late this morning. I haven't had time to kind of put the slides onto a PDF, but what I can do is I'll put them on a PDF or something, and then they can go with the resources on the website. I don't know if that's interesting to people or not. Okay, I've got 1 thumbs up, so I'm going to assume I'm just going to go for it. Am I host? Can I share the screen?
You should be able to, yeah.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. Let me just find the right screen, because you don't want to see all my nonsense, I'm sure. Okay, I wonder, actually, I might just download this. Sorry, guys, bear with me just 2.5 seconds. Chat amongst yourselves about what you're hoping Father Christmas will bring you. I'm hoping for a puppy, but it never happens. Okay, I should have it downloaded now onto my desktop. Yes, I do. We've got 4 cats, so having a puppy is probably not the best idea in a lot of ways, but equally, wouldn't it be nice to have a puppy? Right, I don't want to share my screen. Application windows. This is, you can tell I'm a girl that hasn't used Zoom for a few years, can't you? I've got to actually open it to share it. Okay, right, this is not going to be worth the wait, my friends. You're going to sit there going, gosh, was that worth all the preamble? But let's find out anyway. So, that should be right. Okay, I'm just going to make this big so you can see it. Okay. Sorry, I don't know if you can see it. My screen's doing a weird loading thing. Can you guys see it? Is it working? Or
Looking like a street.
Is it okay? Well, as long as you can see
Slowly
it, I
coming
can't.
up.
I've got the
Yeah,
weird
snowy
little...
street.
Perfect. Okay, so one of the things that I really like to do with critical thinking, and I've done this particular session from undergraduate all the way up to postgraduate and PhD. I just, how I speak around it changes depending on the level, but the basic content is the same. So I always think with critical thinking that a lot of students tend to get in their own head about it, and they sort of get very panicky about it, or they don't feel like they understand it, or they don't feel like they can do it. And I'm aware that there is debate over whether you should call it critical thinking or criticality, and that it's culturally based, and I'm just not going to go into any of that at the moment, but just to say I am aware of those debates, so I'm just speaking off the cuff, if you like. So with that in mind, that students often feel quite anxious around it, or they don't know what it means, or they might have had a bad experience in feedback where a lecturer or a teacher has just gone, be more critical, talk with more depth, this is too shallow, these kind of comments that don't really help. I like to approach criticality and introduce it. So this is introducing the idea by cheating and surprising them so they don't know what's happening. So I show them this picture, and as a group in a room or on woo clap if it's online, whatever. I ask them, what do we know about Scotland in the winter? So if I can ask you guys, if you can just unmute for a moment. I can't see you because I'm sharing my screen, but if you can just shout out, what do we know about Scotland in the winter?
Very dark.
Okay, it's very dark. Excellent. Anything else?
Cold.
Cold. Okay.
Not as cold as everyone thinks.
Not as cold as
Surprisingly-
everyone thinks. Okay,
Surprisingly green.
surprisingly green. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool. So what we know about Scotland is we know that it's cold. We know that it gets dark. Although, interestingly, it's maybe not as cold as people think. And actually, also interestingly, it's surprisingly green. So what we've got here is we've got the things that kind of everybody knows, the facts that the whole world thinks is true. And then we've actually got a little bit of information that only people who have maybe been to Scotland or lived in Scotland would know. And then what I would do with the class is I would basically, I'm not going to do the whole session with you, right? What I would do with the class is I would elicit all that kind of stuff and I would respond in the way that I have responded just now. So, for example, you might have noticed I said, oh, we've got something interesting there that only people who have been to Scotland or whatever would know. I'll just park that for a moment. And so basically, this is what happens. We go, okay, so this is what we know about Scotland. And you could choose, anywhere, right? This is what we know about Scotland. We know it's cold and we know it's dark. And then I would ask the students, so what do we do about that? And I would elicit, we wear lots of layers, we wear big coats, we get hand warmers, sometimes they say we drink lots of whiskey to keep warm, whatever. And then I would build on that. So I'd say, okay, so we know it's cold. As a result of it being cold, we wear big warm coats, we wear big warm jackets. I say, but however, for me, I commute into work and my commute is a train and it's in the middle of rush hour. What's that like? And I go, oh, it's really busy. I go, absolutely. It's so busy. Now think about this. I am wearing hat, gloves, scarf, big coat, and I am on a train with lots of people around me. I can't sit down. What is that journey like? And they will, I'll elicit again, actually, that's not very nice. There's too many people. And I'll get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm too hot. And then I'm like, so what do I do? My journey to the train station, I walk a mile. It takes me 15 minutes, something like that. I'm freezing cold. I have to wear this big coat and my hat and my gloves and my scarf. But then when I get on the train is really crowded. And then we start to say, okay, so what are the solutions to this? And you might elicit different ways of getting into work. So you might be like, okay, well, is there a different way to travel? Maybe I could drive. And it's like, okay, but that's expensive and I'd have to park. But I could take my coat off in the car. Maybe even wouldn't need such a big coat if I'm driving. Or I could ride my bike. And then it's like, okay, that's good. I'm not very fit at the moment. I might find it difficult to ride my bike, but I would get fit, so that's a bonus. And I, again, would probably be warm enough. And basically, you can see how this is going, I hope. And so we go through all of that and we sort of weigh these different suggestions up and kind of think about the pros and cons. And then we come up as a class with what we think is probably the best solution. And once they've done all of that, and they're all looking at me and thinking, hey, Faith, what has this got to do with critical thinking? I show them, hopefully the slideshow will work. I show them Bloom's taxonomy. And I'm just like, this is exactly what we've done. We started with the fact, what do we know about Scotland? The fact is we know it's cold. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means that I am cold. It means that I will be cold. So what do? I put on big warm coats. I put on hats. I put on scarves. And then we start analyzing and we're like, okay, but does that work in every situation? That is a solution. We know what the fact is. We understand what that means. We've applied the facts to our life, our situation, our essay question, whatever. But then we start thinking, okay, but what does that actually mean? And does that work in every situation? And does that work in every context? How good is this application, if you like?